Ultraman says, to protect the peace on Earth, now is the time for all of us to unite. Here are the 5 Ultra Oaths for 2020. Number 1, do your best to stay at home. Number 2, gargle and rinse your mouth properly. Number 3, keep washing your hands until you sang your favorite song to the end. Number 4, get what exercise you can at home and move your body. Number 5, keep doing what you can and don't give up. I'm trying, Ultraman. When people on Earth see someone doing their best, they cheer for them. This is how people form bonds and connect to one another. We believe in you. Oh, thank you, Ultraman.
Draw Jam!
Hi, hello. I missed you. It's been a minute or 5. Welcome back. So clearly, my YouTube channel isn't my main gig. I'm a working cartoonist, illustrator, motion graphics person. So when work comes in, I have to usually drop everything and work on client stuff. And before I stopped filming all this time, it was mostly manageable. I still had enough for like a full workload for the week between day job stuff and commission stuff and extra things on the side. So I still had time to put together some ideas, toss them on a camera, edit, and throw them up on YouTube. But then 29 hit and things got super busy. I spent most of 2019 drawing a graphic novel which drops August 4th, and I'm so excited for everyone to check it out. It's called School for Extraterrestrial Girls, Girl on Fire, written by Jeremy Whitley. We're so excited to get this book into everyone's hands. I'm just so excited with what we've done. I love the characters that Jeremy created. They're so fun to hang out with, and I'm super happy that we got at least 2 more volumes after this first book to explore their lives and hang out with them and all that kind of good stuff. The weird thing for me and Jeremy during this global pandemic is that, you know, we're used to promoting books in person, like going to shows, going to Comic-Cons and talking to people and having panels and then just chasing down people and throwing books in their faces and say, check this out and stuff. But now that we're all locked down, we got to do all of this promotion stuff online, and it's a little bit different for me. I think it's a little bit different for Jeremy as well. Anytime Jeremy has a new project coming out with Marvel, he can go to like local comic shops or libraries and talk with kids and talk with fans and tell them about the books. This is my first big project through a publisher, so it's all new to me. And I was kind of looking forward hitting the road and meeting people in person. I'm really bad at self-promotion. I'm okay with one-on-one chatting with people about art and drawing and things like that, but in terms of just like straight up selling myself, I'm really bad at it. This is all new territory for me, but I'm so excited. I haven't even told you what the book is about. I'm gonna read the synopsis from the website because it's easier. Tara Smith's parents are super strict with all their rules and routines, and Tara is a dutiful daughter. Rule number 1, no friends her own age. Rule number 2, keep her bracelet on or else. But when she breaks her routine and then loses her bracelet, she's in trouble. Now outed as an extraterrestrial after wielding fire and losing her humanoid form, Tara is captured by the government. She's given 2 options: get shipped far away where she won't be a danger to anyone, or stay on Earth and join a school for other extraterrestrial girls like her. Things at the school aren't easy, especially for the girl whose only friends were textbooks. But Tara's goal to learn how to control her powers is soon sidelined by the discovery that the people she's called mom and dad all these years aren't her parents. So even though I feel like I'm really bad at the self-promotion aspect of this, I am really good at talking about process and how to do things. So I thought I would give you a look at the steps I took to paint the cover for this first volume. First part of the cover process, come up with a bunch of ideas, send them off to your editor for approval, and then get to work. So these are some of the thumbnail sketches I sent over initially when we were first starting this project. You can tell it's pretty early in the process because the book was going to be titled Miss Mercury's School for Extraterrestrial Girls. That's the title of the thing when Jeremy came to me and said, hey, we should work on a thing. So these are the first 3 sketches I sent over. In general, I kind of like to whittle my ideas down to 2 or 3 of my strongest ideas. I find that sometimes if you send the client over absolutely everything, they'll choose something that you were kind of iffy on that you didn't really want to work on. So instead of doing that, I kind of barf up a bunch of sketches, edit, barf up some more, edit, refine, barf up more, and then get it to a point where I have 2 or 3 ideas that I'm kind of happy with that I would love to see as a final product. So that's why we got these suckers here. You're gonna hear a lot of clicking. I got one of those clicky keyboards because I prefer the clicky keyboards because I just like the feel. And these are all done in Photoshop. So from the sketch to the final painting, I did everything here in Photoshop. So this first one, I wanted to play with the duality of Tara discovering that she's an alien and being kind of afraid of it. So we have her in lizard form and her in human form cowering away. Kind of a tropey horror concept, but I thought it would be fun to render out. B, I thought it would be interesting to do a more of a designy take on the cover. This doesn't really tell you anything about the book, but it just looked like a fun graphic design thing, playing with typography and iconography. Fortunately, they didn't like that one. And then here we have the playing card motif. We have Tara as the suit, and then on the top side, this would have been Earth, and this is Tara in human form. And on the flip side, this would have been an alien planet with Tara in lizard form. So that's what I was thinking when I came up with these first 3, and they rejected them all. They didn't like any of these, but they came back with some suggestions of what they were actually looking for. They wanted something that would show a little bit more of the students and something that would relate to the school and all that kind of stuff. So with that in mind, I came up with this next set. So I still wanted to keep the playing card idea and Tara as lizard form, but I came up with these 2 additional sketches. And now we've actually, at this point, we've renamed the book School for Extraterrestrial Girls. So when I'm drawing covers, I try to keep the trade dress in mind, so I'll quickly write in the name of the book and how big I think the title will be. That always changes. But here we have our main cast, everyone in alien form except for Tara. And same thing here, just, standard group shot. Sent these over. They didn't quite like any of these, but they had another idea of maybe having Tara in class, surrounded by other aliens. So came up with this next round. Here I'm also refining what I think the trade dress will look like. So here's kind of what the final title actually ended up being, and then the title Girls on Fire. Our names here, and then here's Tara surrounded by aliens and just kind of freaking out, looking kind of scared. And then we have Tara in a school jersey, I guess, in alien form. I was going for that athletic t-shirt style. These actually would be kind of fun to have. Maybe I'll design something for that. I think they liked the direction where these were going, but they just wanted to see a couple more iterations. So next round I came up with this set of 5. We have the first 2 ideas that they really liked, and then I further refined those to having Tara on fire with the girls around here freaking out, and then more of a close-up on the athletic tee with them in their alien form, and then maybe a squiddy thing here. But after seeing this set, they finally chose this one. This one was the winner. So this was the sketch that I used to do the final painting. Here is the final cover painting with all of these handy dandy folders that I actually remembered to label. It doesn't always happen because a lot of times if I'm doing stuff like this, it's for myself. And if you're working for yourself, you don't always need to label stuff. But fortunately, I remembered to label things so I can tell you what everything was. Funny story about this painting, I didn't have a whole lot of time to get the cover done. I don't exactly remember the timing of everything, but I scheduled a trip to visit my brother for his 30th birthday. And normally when I travel anywhere, I bring everything with me, all my work stuff, because I'm always working on things. I can always be coloring things or inking things, or sometimes my day job will have some graphics that I need to edit. And normally it's a quick thing that I can turn around easily, but if I don't have my gear with me, I can't do any of it. But this was gonna be my brother's 40th birthday weekend, and I was like, well, we're gonna have fun. I'm not gonna worry about work. It's just gonna be us. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna hang out with his friends, see a bunch of cool stuff. It's gonna be great. At the airport, I get an email from our editors saying, hey, we like this cover idea. We like the one with Terra on fire surrounded by the other alien girls. Can we get a final version on Monday for solicitations? And I was like, okay. So I spent the entire flight freaking out about what to do. The only thing I could come up with was maybe saying hello to my brother and then staying at the airport, getting an emergency trip back home so I could come back Sunday on the red eye and then work until I died to get the cover in. And fortunately, my brother is much smarter than I am. And he's like, no, we're gonna figure this out. I work at a gaming studio. I have some laptops and some computers lying around that I've inherited from other people. We're gonna figure this out. So my brother picked me up at the airport, went down to Best Buy, bought a tablet, Intuos something or other. I don't even remember what it was called. I usually work on a Cintiq, and it's been a while since I've used a non-screen tablet, so there's always a learning curve. Nothing like having to get an assignment done very quickly to remind you how to use a thing. And then we got back to his place. He booted up an old PC that he had inherited from a friend of his. And fortunately, I bag on Adobe all the time for the Creative Cloud, but I'm a subscriber, so I was able to download Photoshop onto his machine and do my work, and he saved my ass. So I was able to do a little painting. We were able to go out and celebrate for his birthday and then come home, and I was able to finish stuff. So this was a whirlwind kind of situation. I might have had the forethought to save out more iterations of the thing if I had more time to plan, but I didn't have more time. So I just needed to go. So first things first, I got my sketch and I blew it up to print resolution, which in this case, let me check the file, was inches 6.5 by 9.5. And I painted this at 600 DPI. Usually for print, 300 is good enough, but I wanted to make absolutely sure there was enough resolution in this thing to look nice and pretty. So I bumped it up as high as I felt I could go. So let me close off all of these folders. And there we go. So I first started in black and white. My process has changed since then. These days, I'll just start with a whole bunch of colors, dump them all in, and then start refining from there. But in this case, I was like, well, I have no idea what I'm doing. I kind of know what the sketch is supposed to look like, but let me just render it in black and white first and see what I can do from there. So let me zoom in a little bit. You can see the background is pretty simple. I think I don't have any of my guides, but I think I laid down some basic perspective guides, which is why you see that the ceiling tiles are in sort of a perspective. And I used a bunch of Kyle brushes. So if you're a subscriber to the Adobe Creative Suite, you get access to Kyle brushes. I forgot his last name, but he used to sell brush sets that were so good, Adobe just eventually hired him on full time. For this painting, I think I mostly used the gouache brush here, this gouache G-wash or whatever. Or no, I used the gouache Supreme. So that's what I used for most of this. Right. So I started with black and white rendering, and I collapsed everything onto one layer. I like to try to work on one layer if at all possible. Like if there's a piece I want to render, maybe I'll make a new layer for that and then eventually collapse it down and then paint it all on one. It's not because I'm super good and super accurate and everything I do is perfect. It's just I like the idea that I'm working on the piece as a whole rather than fragmented bits and then sticking them all back together. So you can still see some of the sketch lines in the line work. And this is pretty messy, but this gives me a good idea of the tones that I wanted to maintain. I wanted to make sure that Terra is the light source, but I also wanted the core of her to be kind of darkened. So that's why I've lit her from the sides, and then everyone else is lit as if the light is coming from her. We got Summer here. She doesn't quite fit in the desk. The interesting thing is that these desks are kind of standard, but in the book, they go to a futuristic kind of school, not futuristic school, but I wanted the school to have more of a techie feel. So these desks, these standard school desks kind of appear in the first chapter, and then after that, it's just modern-y, space age kind of stuff. So we got our Void Beast, our Fairy, our Cat Girl, and then Cicada Girl. So this is kind of inspired from Baltan Sejin from Ultraman, the first Ultraman, who was based on Cicada Man, which was from our earlier show. And so I took inspiration for that, and I was like, oh, I love cicadas. Cicadas are my favorite bug. So I thought I would stick her on the cover. And also, because I'm a gigantic tokusatsu fan, I wanted to kind of sneak as many Easter eggs in this thing as possible. All right, so this is the base. I took it to this point because I thought that this was a good enough spot to start throwing on some colors. Here, I put in some debris from her shirt as it's burning up. A lot of times when you have characters flame on, their clothes somehow manages to stay on, and I wanted Terra's clothing to be burning as she was on fire. So this is the first pass at the overlay layer. I just set this layer to overlay and started painting in some basic tones. It's a good method for coloring a black and white drawing. Here, I'm gonna turn it on normal so you can see what kind of wackiness I started with. It's all very blocky, very splotchy. I wanted to make sure Terra's skin had a lot of purples, deep purples in here before I blew it all out with the flame. Even on the Cat Girl, I wanted to make sure that there were some contrasting tones. So it isn't just all one swath of orange, grays. These shirts are supposed to be white, but white in the wild, in real life, is never just white. White kind of reflects different colors from all of the various sources. So there's a lot of grays in here, there's a lot of blues in here, there's some browns on the edges. And then our Void Beast, she's got a lot of pink and purple and some green. And our Fairy has some purple in the shadows. So, and her Cicada Wings. Oh yeah, the Fairy wings are patterned after a cicada. So I have a lot of love for cicadas. So back to overlay. And that's what it looks like when you overlay. So black and white, overlay. Next phase of the painting is, we're gonna turn off some of these layers. So what I did here is I kind of flattened what was there before. So that's what this layer is. So you can see I flattened everything there. And then I painted in a rim light. So rim light just separates the characters from the background. And this is kind of a yellow. It looks like it's white because it's contrasted with such dark tones, but it's a very bright yellow. And I just painted it on the edges here and on the opposite edge here. This is not at all realistic. Like, no classroom has rim lights set to the side to kind of pop out their characters from the foreground. If anything, classrooms just have these overhead fluorescent lights, which are god-awful. But we get to cheat when we're doing our comics and painting in, like, this rim light on the leg back here doesn't exist without someone putting a light there. but when you're doing comics, you can paint that in. And then a little bit more to separate that out. There's no rim on the desks because I don't care about the desks. There's a little bit of highlight to indicate metal, but that's not really the important thing. There's a little bit of rim here. There's a tiny sliver of a rim on the uniform here, but there we go. And then some curve adjustments. This is just a slight tone curve. And then I used a vivid light, a gradient here, to kind of give Terra a center glow. So the easy way to do this is to, let me turn on normal and we'll pump this up. Just make a simple gradient. Turn that layer onto vivid light. Oops, and then turn that down to 50%, which is where I did that. And I guess I did this a number of times just in case. If you think 50% isn't enough, you can always increase that, or you can copy and just see how far you can get. That's a little too much. And then this layer is set to vivid light. This is just, I used a very soft airbrush and added some more orange here and then turned it on to vivid to kind of vivid. Turned it on vivid light to add more of a glow. And so that's that. Next layer, what do we got? The effects. All right, the effects layer looks pretty simple. Let me turn off a bunch of stuff here. And this is the fire. So let me turn off the opacity. Okay. So if I turn off the underpainting, you can see I basically drew in these fire shapes, locked that layer, used a gradient that went from this bright yellow to this dark red, put that in a gradient, and then did a motion blur. And so that's how I achieved this effect. And then set it to screen. I think it was screen. So when you put that over and screen it, it makes it look like an explosion coming off of her. And then I copied it a bunch of times and added that in. Same thing. So this layer is set to blur, and then this one was set to linear dodge to really blow it out. So like towards the center, you can hardly see, but you can still see in her core that she's got that fire going on. And then I added a little bit of a vignette here. It's a subtle effect, but you can see sort of like if you're using a telephoto lens, the center of the frame is all clear, but towards the edges you get this darkening. So that's what the vignette is there for. And then stick in your titles. And there you have it. That's a cover. I think my process has changed a lot since I did this. I mean, your process is supposed to evolve and change as you get better with stuff, but I think I would have changed a little bit in terms of the way I started out with the rendering. I would have done more, I would have just started straight into color instead of using the black and white method, starting off black and white. It's good, but you can see when you just use an overlay layer that these colors are kind of dull and they kind of have a grayish tone to them. Like I usually like more rich shadow conditions in here, so I would use some purples and blues and stuff. And Terra's skin looks terrible. Like it's better when you warm it up with the oranges and stuff, but these days I would paint that directly in. Right now she kind of looks kind of dead inside, and that's not the way skin is supposed to look like. So I would have rendered this a little bit better these days because I know a lot more. But you know, the black and white method is good for quick paintings and things that you need to do quickly. I think I could have done a better job. I think this could have used another pass. Like in the painting pass, I could have spent more time instead of going directly to the gradient overlays. Like at this phase, I think I would have just started painting in more tones directly on here instead of just going with effects, because I can achieve some of it with effects, but it looks better if you just paint those tones in to begin with. So the orange to blue gradient definitely helps a lot. It gives her skin a lot more life than it had at this phase. But, you know, I like to get that in paint these days rather than straight up effects. I still use effects a lot, but I like to do things in paint as much as I can before I start digitally messing with stuff. Also, I would be using Clip Studio Paint. I'll show you, hopefully I'll have time to do some more tutorials and stuff like that. Things have been nuts. I'm already working on book 2 now, so, which is why I've been away for so long. But yeah, so that's how the title goes. And there's the title dress. And then you hand over the Photoshop file to your editor and they make tweaks, like they do a little bit of a color correction and they add in the names and their little logo. And then you have the final cover. So that's it. That's how the cover for book 1 was done. Book 2 is in process right now. I'm doing thumbnails. I've already painted the cover. I gotta ask them, I think when solicitations for book 2 come out, I can talk about that cover. The painting process was a lot more different. I feel like I've gotten better since I did the painting for book 1, so I can take you through all of that stuff. But I'm so excited about this first book. I can't wait for you all to get your hands on it. It's up for pre-orders right now. I'll have links everywhere, all that good stuff. The first chapter of the book is available for free at the Papercutz website, so I'll post a link to that wherever, like down there or in one of those like cards and stuff. Jeremy and I are just so excited for you guys to finally get your hands on the book and hang out with Tara and her friends and meet all the other aliens, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. For me personally, this is my first big work from a publisher, so I'm really nervous. Like during the drawing process, during that whole year of 2019, imposter syndrome was just a monkey on my back the entire time, just feeling like, you know, this is the first time out. I don't know if I'm worthy of doing this. This has got to be the best thing that I've done, but I don't have enough time to do this. I don't have enough time to do that. And my editors definitely talked me off a couple of bridges throughout the process. Like I would freak out about deadlines and all this kind of stuff. So thank you to the editorial staff at Papercutz for keeping me sane. Thank you to my flatter, Shannon Lilly, for helping me stay on deadline. And thank you, Jeremy, for bringing me along with this process, for coming to me with this project and working together with this thing. It's been a joy, and I hope it's just the start of our adventure with these characters together. We've got 2 more books planned with Papercutz, and where we go from there, who knows? But I'm excited. I'm glad. I'm happy. I'm nervous. I'm all of the emotions. All of the emotions. So I can't wait. So check it out. If you have any questions about the coloring process or the drawing process and any of that stuff, hit me up in the comments and all that kind of stuff, and I'll try to be here and answer and stuff. And now that I've got this set up a little bit more stable, more regular, hopefully I can record more of these things. I've got a couple of more videos to do for a class I'm teaching at Montgomery College. We're doing the distance learning thing, and so most of my class lectures have been on video, and it's given me a couple of ideas that I would like to share with this channel. So things might be a little bit rocky, but I do plan on recording more stuff here on out, even during the production of book 2. I need to take more breaks, as I learned during 2019. So I'm gonna stop rambling, but thank you once again for hanging out and coming back to visit, and please check out our book and all that good stuff. So, okay, I'm bad at promo, but this is my promo stuff. Okay, bye. Oh yeah, I have a Patreon that I am horrible at promoting, but all of these people, all of these names are my patrons, and they got to see the painting process as I was doing the cover for book 1. They also got to see the process for book 2. They got advanced looks at the pages for the first book. They're getting advanced looks at the pages for book 2. So if you enjoy School for Extraterrestrial Girls, and if you enjoy my other work and you're interested in seeing sneak peeks of stuff and getting early access to all that, check out my Patreon, which I'll link somewhere. Yeah, thank you for hanging out. Be safe, everybody. Be kind to each other. It's kind of rough out there, and I don't know. Just try to be nice. And that's all I gotta say. All right, bye.